Deep in the eerie solitude of Germany's Bavarian Alps sits the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse, a place that carries the weight of a gruesome past, etched into the annals of unsolved mysteries. This is not your typical pastoral idyll. This is a setting where silence, isolation, and terror intertwine. Nestled among the snow-capped peaks and dense forests of the Bavarian wilderness, the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse feels a world away from the bustling cities and quaint villages of Germany. Its remote location, far from the watchful eyes of neighbors, makes it a place of solitude. But this solitude, rather than offering peace, has a chilling undertone. Imagine a rustic homestead, standing alone against the backdrop of the towering Alps, surrounded by vast stretches of farmland. The nearest neighbor is a good half a kilometer away, a distance that might as well be a universe when night falls, and the only sounds are the rustling trees and the distant hoot of an owl. The farmhouse itself is an epitome of German rural architecture, sturdily built and practical. It's an image of tranquility, a scene from a picture postcard with its neat wooden panels, quaint thatched roof, and the obligatory barn adjacent. From a distance, it would seem like a sanctuary, a refuge from the world. Yet the isolation of the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse has a double edge. It's a place where secrets can be kept, where whispers of the wind can drown out cries for help. A place where an idyllic facade can mask a chilling reality. The stark beauty of the Bavarian landscape, the isolation of the farmhouse, and the seeming normalcy of rural life all combine to create a setting that's as haunting as it is picturesque. It's a place where the boundary between tranquility and terror is blurred, where the echoes of a horrifying past reverberate in the present. But beneath the quaint exterior, the farmhouse held a horrifying secret. A secret that would turn this peaceful homestead into a gruesome tableau of unspeakable horror. Welcome to the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse. The Gruber family, unsuspecting of the terror that was to come, lived a quiet life on the farm. The family was a typical one, with the hard-working patriarch Andreas Gruber, his wife Kazilia, their widowed daughter Victoria, and her two children, Kazilia and Joseph. Together they worked the land, tending to the livestock and the crops, maintaining a steady rhythm of life that was familiar to any rural family of the time. Their daily routine was simple yet filled with the labors of farm life. Andreas and Victoria would rise with the sun, tending to the animals in the fields, while Kazilia Sr. would manage the household chores. Little Kazilia and Joseph, too young to work, would play around the vast expanse of the farm, innocent to the world's harsh realities. Despite their humble existence, the Grubers were not isolated from the rest of the world. They were active members of the local community, attending church every Sunday, participating in local events, and sharing the fruits of their labor with their neighbors. They were well liked, respected, and considered an integral part of the community. However, beneath this tranquil rural life there were whispers of odd occurrences around the Grubers' farmhouse. Unexplained footprints in the snow leading to the farm but not away, strange noises in the middle of the night, and objects mysteriously moving from their original places. The Grubers, though unnerved, dismissed these incidents as mere pranks or the work of mischievous wildlife. The Grubers' life embodied the simplicity and hard work typical of a farming family in the early 20th century. Yet the undercurrent of peculiar events hinted at a darker reality lurking in the shadows. Their peaceful existence, marked by the rhythmic cycle of sowing and harvesting, of life and death, was soon to be disrupted. Little did they know that their peaceful life was about to be shattered. In the days leading up to the massacre, the Grubers noticed strange occurrences around their property. It started subtly enough, but poignantly, with unfamiliar footprints in the snow. These were not the casual tracks of a stray animal, but the deliberate imprints of a man's boot, leading from the edge of the forest to the farmhouse. Yet, chillingly, there were no tracks leading back. It was as if the visitor had simply vanished into thin air, or worse, had never left. Then came the eerie noises. The Grubers began to hear strange sounds echoing in their home, a cacophony of whispers that seemed to originate from the attic. The sounds were faint, almost indiscernible, but consistent enough to send chills down their spines. It was as though the very walls of their home were speaking in hushed tones, adding an unsettling soundtrack to their increasingly anxious days. The family's discomfort grew as they discovered their house keys missing. The keys, which were typically kept in a specific spot, had vanished without a trace. The Grubers searched high and low, but the keys remained elusive. adding another layer to the growing mystery. The sense of unease was palpable now, a heavy dread that hung in the air as thick as morning fog. With each passing day, the Grubers felt their sanctuary transforming into a stage for an unseen menace. Their home, once a haven, was now host to an unwelcome guest. Each creak of the floorboards, each rustle of the wind against the window panes added to their mounting fear. The very air seemed to hum with a silent warning, a premonition of the horror that was yet to come. The Grubers were at a loss. They couldn't comprehend the strange occurrences, couldn't find a rational explanation for the footprints, the sounds, the missing keys. They felt their control slipping, their reality blurring into a chilling nightmare from which they couldn't wake. They were being watched, but by whom or what, they had no idea. Their sanctuary had turned into a prison, and they were the unknowing inmates, trapped and terrified, waiting for the horror to unfold. On that fateful night, the silent observer turned into a ruthless killer. A chill ran through the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse as darkness fell, the tranquil silence of the countryside shattered by the horrifying events about to unfold. The Gruber family, 6 souls blissfully unaware, were living their last moments. A family dinner, a bedtime story, a lullaby, ordinary moments that took on a sinister hue in retrospect. Unknown to them, they were not alone. Their sanctuary, their home, had been infiltrated by a sinister presence. It wasn't until the following Tuesday when the postman noticed something amiss. The Gruber's mail had piled up. The farm was unusually quiet, the animals unattended. The serenity of the countryside was replaced by a disquieting stillness. A neighbor, alarmed by the eerie silence, ventured into the house. What he discovered was beyond comprehension. In the farmhouse, the Grubers were found, not in the warmth of their beds or the comfort of their living room, but cold and lifeless in the barn and the house. The brutality of the scene was shocking, even for the most hardened of hearts. The patriarch, Andreas Gruber, the matriarch Kazilia, their widowed daughter Victoria, and her children, little Kazilia and Josef, were all found in the barn. The housekeeper, Maria Baumgartner, who had just started her employment that very day, was found in her bedchamber. All 6 had met a gruesome end. Each had been cruelly bludgeoned, their lives extinguished in a storm of violence that seemed at odds with the peaceful surroundings. The method was brutal, the weapon a mattock, a tool of the farm turned instrument of death. The killer had not just taken their lives, but had done so with a horrifying ferocity that left the small community reeling. The lack of motive was as baffling as the brutality of the crime. The Grubers were well-liked, their farm prosperous. They kept to themselves, living a quiet life in the rural idyll of the German countryside. Who could harbor such hatred, such rage against this family? Who could carry out such a monstrous act, and why? The questions swirled, the answers elusive. The massacre at the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse was not just a shocking crime, it was a mystery that cast a long, dark shadow over the community. The farm, once a symbol of rural tranquility, was now a chilling reminder of the evil that can lurk in the most unexpected of places. In the quiet of the night, the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse became a house of horrors. The once tranquil homestead now stood as an eerie monument to a night of unimaginable terror, its silence echoing with the unspoken horrors of that fateful night. The peace of the countryside had been shattered, replaced by the chilling echo of a mystery that continues to haunt, long after the sun has set on the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse. As news of the massacre spread, investigators swarmed the scene, hunting for clues. The Hinterkaifeck farmhouse, isolated in its remote location, presented an eerie tableau. The quiet stillness of the place was shattered by the grisly scene that met the eyes of the investigators. The Gruber family and their maid had met a horrifying end. The investigation was a daunting task from the get-go. The secluded location of the farmhouse meant that there were no immediate witnesses. The only traces of the brutal crime were the cold bodies and a farm steeped in a chilling silence. The investigators had their work cut out for them. The lack of concrete evidence was the first hurdle. No footprints, no fingerprints, nothing to link the crime to a specific perpetrator. The murder weapon, a mattock, was found in the barn, wiped clean of any incriminating traces. The unknown intruder had taken their time not only to commit the horrifying act, but also to cover their tracks meticulously. Several suspects were rounded up. Locals, drifters, even distant relatives fell under the shadow of suspicion. Each one was interrogated, their stories cross-checked, their alibis scrutinized. But every lead turned out to be a dead end. Every suspect had an alibi. Every story checked out. The investigators were back to square one, time and time again. The challenges faced by the investigators were immense. The isolation of the farmhouse was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it allowed the killer to commit the heinous act without fear of being caught in the act. On the other hand, it made the investigation that much harder. There were no nosy neighbors, no local gossip, no stray witnesses who might have seen something out of the ordinary. The killer had chosen their location well. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the investigation hit one wall after another. Despite their best efforts, the investigators were no closer to solving the mystery than they had been on that first grim day. The case files grew, filled with statements, speculations, and theories. But the concrete evidence, the undeniable proof that would link a suspect to the crime, remained elusive. The Gruber family's killer, it seemed, had vanished without a trace. As the investigation dragged on, the farmhouse stood as a grim reminder of the unsolved crime. The locals avoided it, the whispers of the gruesome massacre still fresh in their minds. The Gruber family's memory was etched into the very walls of the farmhouse, their untimely end a chilling testament to the brutality of their unknown assailant. The case went cold, the months turned into years, and the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse massacre slipped into the annals of unsolved mysteries. The investigators had done their best, but the killer had left no stone unturned in covering their tracks. The chilling mystery of the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse remained, the haunting question of who had committed such a horrifying act, unanswered. The case went cold, the killer never found. Over the years, the Hinterkaifeck massacre has sparked countless theories and speculations. The chilling tale of this unsolved crime has provoked a myriad of possibilities, each one more unsettling than the last. One of the most widely discussed theories delves into the realm of the supernatural. Some believe that the Gruber family was the unfortunate victim of a malevolent entity. Whispers of paranormal activities in the farmhouse prior to the massacre, from strange footprints to unexplained noises, lent credence to this eerie speculation. Others suggest a more grounded, yet equally disturbing theory. They argue that the Gruber family was embroiled in a bitter feud with a neighboring family, which ultimately led to the gruesome event. The supposed feud, as the theory goes, was so intense that it drove the neighbors to commit this atrocious act, forever staining the tranquility of the quaint German countryside. A third popular theory implicates a wandering vagrant as the perpetrator. The isolated location of the Hinterkaifeck farm made it an easy target for a transient looking for a place to stay or a quick score. The grim reality of this theory is that it paints a picture of a random act of violence, implying that the Gruber family was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. However, despite the multitude of theories, no definitive proof has ever been found. Each theory, no matter how plausible, is ultimately just a speculation, a desperate attempt to make sense of the senseless. The lack of concrete evidence and the passing of time have only served to deepen the mystery around the Hinterkaifeck massacre. The chilling story of the Gruber family's demise has become a dark legend, a tale of an unspeakable crime that continues to haunt the annals of unsolved mysteries. Each theory adds another layer to the enigma, but none have been able to pierce the veil of uncertainty that shrouds the truth. The truth, it seems, went to the grave with the Grubers. As we delve deeper into the abyss of this mystery, we are left with more questions than answers, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks in the corners of our world. Today, the Hinterkaifeck massacre remains one of Germany's most chilling unsolved mysteries. Its dark allure lies not only in the gruesome events that transpired, but also in the unanswered questions that continue to echo through time. This enduring fascination is a testament to the human desire to make sense of the senseless, to unravel the unimaginable. The impact of the massacre on the local community was profound. It was a shattering intrusion of horror into their peaceful rural existence, leaving a lasting imprint. Even today, the name Hinterkaifeck evokes a shiver of fear and morbid curiosity. The legacy of the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse is a haunting one. It stands as a grim monument to a past that refuses to be forgotten. The farmhouse, once a home, now a symbol of a mystery that remains unsolved, a story that remains untold. And so the ghost of Hinterkaifeck continues to haunt, its secrets forever locked away in the silent walls of the old farmhouse.